Why? Because in recent days, the city of Seattle's City Council has taken a remarkable step. It has passed a bill for an income tax to be applied to residents of Seattle. 2.25% on all income over $250,000 for an individual, or over $500,000 per year for a married couple who file together. 9-0 was the vote of the City Council. So it's not only happening in Seattle, it's happening unanimously and enthusiastically. What is this about? The state of Washington is notorious across the 50 states for having one of the most regressive tax structures in the country. What does that mean? Regressive taxes, that's simply a term, means a tax that makes no effort to take account of the person's ability to pay who's required to pay the tax. We have in the United States many such regressive taxes. Washington relies on regressive taxes. It doesn't have an income tax. Income taxes have often, not always, but have often been progressive. That is, the tax you're asked to pay takes account of your ability to pay. So what the City Council of Seattle is doing is saying, we're not happy living in a state that taxes people without regard to their ability to pay. We believe that to be fundamentally unjust and unfair, which is what many members of the City Council said in their comments about this decision. We would like to correct the unfairly regressive structure of taxes in Seattle by having a progressive income tax. The city of Seattle estimates that the tax would raise about $140 million a year, allowing that city to improve its schools, its parks, to relieve the burden of taxation on those least able to pay, to make the city of Seattle a much better place than it is now. And how? By taking 2.25% of the money over $250,000 that a person earns, or over $500,000. A minimal burden on those at the top for a maximum benefit for the vast majority of Seattle residents. In fact, including those at the top who will also get benefits from a better school system, a better park system, and a less divided community. But of course, immediately a cry went up from the Republicans, from the business community, from all those who stand to lose. And they are going to fight it in court, and they're going to make propaganda against it. They've already begun to do that. So it will be a fight. The people in Seattle who've pushed for this know it. But a unanimous city council and a supportive mayor indicate that the majority of people in Seattle want this, which is one major reason why all of these politicians support it. And that means the courts will be under all kinds of pressure to allow the sovereignty of the city of Seattle to be played out in this way that the majority of people want. For those of you who may not know it, when the progressive income tax for the country as a whole was passed over 100 years ago, it too was an income tax that exempted the vast majority of Americans from any tax on their income and was only intended to be a tax on those at the top. Over the last 100 years, those at the top worked very hard to use their money to move the burden of income taxation off of themselves and on to the middle class, which the middle class permitted them to do. Since the middle class are the vast majority and those above were a tiny minority, it was clear that the way the minority got the middle class to buy it was to buy the politicians, so it was difficult, or if not impossible, to push against it. It is, in a way, an enormous step. One of the things it ought to do is to inspire, motivate, to create an incentive to cities and towns across the United States to pass such a law, to get such a law effective in the society. The question is whether this fight will be won or lost, but our hats must go off to the people and to the city council and to the mayor, who've taken an important step in correcting a fundamentally unjust tax system, not only in Seattle and Washington, but in many other parts of the United States as well.